Can I get all of your permission to begin the event for today? We're right on time. Perfect. Thank you all for joining in for today's event. I'm extremely glad to see all of you present here, and I'm so glad that all the panelists for today and speakers for today were able to make it. And on behalf of KnowledgeHut and the entire team, I'd like to personally welcome all the panelists for the day. We are all very excited about this event. I request my colleague Nick to play a 30-second video of a DA SSM student experience. Nick, over to you to play the video, please.
Thank you.
See, most companies, they jump wholeheartedly onto the agile bandwagon, and then they pick a methodology like Scrum or Kanban, and then they realize that with their existing team structures, they cannot exactly get this operational immediately. So a lot of changes are needed, within these teams to adopt this particular methodology that is chosen. With DA, these changes are quite minimal. DA actually advocates being agile in whatever form the company or team is right then at that moment. Also, DA understands that one glove does not fit all, so it's devised to uniquely address each team's requirements. The concept of choosing your way of working, that's very unique to DA, and it helps every team become, every functioning team become agile in a very minimal time frame. Not all teams are inherently agile. Agile transformation anywhere becomes, it's an uphill climb. Moreover, there are rigid rules to these methodologies that we have, and that makes life very difficult for a Scrum Master. But then with DA, we were able to choose our own way of working, and it was easier for us to go agile because of DA's adaptability. Moreover, because of the Disciplined Agile's flexibility, the team was able to adopt a agile mindset very quickly and very effectively. Anyone who's looking to go agile will benefit from a DA training. Although DA SSM is a Scrum Master training, anybody who has problems going agile will benefit from learning and getting certified with DA. So I would recommend this to everybody who's trying to go agile at this moment.
That's a very nice video to begin with. So as we move forward and begin with the presenter introductions, I'd like to once again welcome all the attendees who are here and the team and our team from KnowledgeHut and PMI to this event on the topic Leading Your Teams to the Next Agile Awakening, which we bring to you in partnership with the Project Management Institute. Joe Cahill is the Chief Customer Officer for all of PMI's Global Customer Group. Joe previously held the positions of COO, Interim CEO, and SVP of Finance and Administration in his time with PMI, and brings with him over 20 years of senior leadership experience, including digital transformation, strategic planning, enterprise system implementation, and new business development. We're really looking forward to Joe speaking to us on this collaboration with KnowledgeHut. And of course, Joe, over to you to listen some good words from you.
Thank you so much for the introduction. How do I sound? Is my audio good?
It's perfect. It's perfect, Joe.
All right, thank you. I'm really excited to be here today in order to talk about our new partnership with KnowledgeHut. I was talking with the guys, the team yesterday about just our own experience at PMI. We've transformed PMI in the last 3 years, and we continue to transform PMI, by the way. It's not it's an ongoing journey and never-ending journey. And part of that transformation is really reaching into the different regions and to different partners to advance what PMI is trying to do, which is enabling individuals in their careers, enabling corporations, and solving their pain points in a much more different and engaged and active way than we have in the past. And the partnership here with KnowledgeHut is just a great example of what our transformation is bringing to our stakeholders, essentially. We certainly have alignment on stakeholders with our KnowledgeHut partners, and we're really keen on upskilling our stakeholders, upskilling them specifically with agility skills the next generation of agility skills, particularly with our Disciplined Agile offering and our partnership here with KnowledgeHut to really push those skills into the marketplace to our stakeholders so that they can become better agilists, right? And then take the journey, the Disciplined Agile journey, which is a much more robust agility journey that presents options that are in the real world, right? We're not telling people one way of doing things. We're really providing the optionality for them to address problems that they're having either within their companies or with their clients, and providing the right solutions from an agility perspective. And of course, from a traditional project management perspective, we do bring all of those things. We bring traditional PM, Agile. We continue to bring other new ways of working into our offerings, design thinking, citizen development, and so forth. The particular starting point and a jump off point in our partnership is really focused on agility and PM. So I'm excited about that. It's a great opportunity for our stakeholders to improve themselves, improve their careers, and improve the companies that they work for. I'm happy today to be with my partners, Scott Ambler. I see Scott and Mark on the call, and Amal is going to be talking to you from a perspective from an IBM perspective, and of course, Sharini, who is our lead in the South Asia market. Really keen, us as a team working with you, the KnowledgeHut team, to not only do what we're doing today, what we're announcing, and the specifics of our first step, but to take it to the next steps over the next couple months and years. A completely different way of working for us from a partnership perspective in the market. So from that, I just hopefully that was a good introduction for this session, and for my colleagues who are much more smart about Agile, well beyond my capabilities, but I always look to them for their leadership and agility. And I would pass it off to the next person on the agenda, who do I have next? I don't have the agenda in front of me.
Joe, thank you very much for your words. That was a brilliant introduction. Irrespective of how the introduction went, having you to be a part of this event means a lot to all of us. Samir, over to you. Samir is very much part of KnowledgeHut. He takes care of our global enterprise sales. Samir, you don't need an introduction from my side. Over to you.
No, I don't. Yeah, but thank you so much. Anyway, Shruti, thanks so much, Joe, as well. Good setup for me. First of all, a very good evening to those joining in from India. Good afternoon and good morning to our friends in other time zones. My name is Samir Venugopal. I'm going to introduce myself because Shruti was stumbling a little bit. I lead KnowledgeHut's global enterprise business. For those who don't already know us, KnowledgeHut is in the business of helping individuals and corporates realize their full potential, helping them acquire those skills most suited for their current jobs and future roles. Over the last few years, over 500,000 learners have taken trainings from KnowledgeHut, of which 250,000 roughly have led to certifications. And Jasbir and we're very proud of this number because that's what he quoted to all our investors recently. We have conducted trainings and consulting services to most Fortune 500 companies, and that's something that I'm really proud of about, both for my team and myself. We have a presence in many international cities, and a few of you might have heard about the recent changes at KnowledgeHut. We became a part of the Upgrad group. Upgrad is an India-based unicorn and a giant in the edutech space. So it's a pleasure to have you participate at this event, hosted along with our valued partner, Project Management Institute. Our relationship with PMI grows ever stronger, and today you will hear more about this increasingly popular Disciplined Agile stream. I am just as excited as you are to learn about the DA toolkit from the creators themselves. We have the PMI Global and Asia leadership participating in full strength. I'm sure they are equally eager to answer questions that you might have on Disciplined Agile. So please feel free, to just air your views, put those questions in and get as many clarifications going. We have IBM's Chief of Transformation, Enterprise Agility, and their Enterprise Transformational Leader join us to share their experience on driving business agility. A warm shout out to Joseph once again, Srini, Scott, Mark, and Jacob from PMI, as well as Amol and Falguni from IBM for the support and partnership. Welcome also to my colleagues and friends joining in from KH. Once again, thanks for taking out time to be here with us. Please do sit back and enjoy the sessions. Shruti, over to you.
Thank you very much, Samir. We'd like to take about 30 seconds once again to see a very quick clip. Nick, can you play the next video, please?
DSSM, I am one among the first set of professionals who went for taking the DSSM certification. I am a certified Scrum Master for a few years now. So the reason why I chose DSSM is because the number of benefits it offers. It's a hybrid approach to a number of agile methodologies like Scrum, XP, Kanban, taking the best elements from them and also addressing any gaps in it. Also, the disciplined agile delivery approach, it provides a pragmatic approach from where the team can choose their way of working that best suits the project context. It provides a foundation for scaling up agile strategies. We have the freedom to choose our way of working for better outcomes. Apart from that, it provides capabilities to design and implement metrics and measure its outcome based on the struggles that we go through during the project. Also, the disciplined agile delivery advances our focus from producing a software to delivering a solution, which is where the real business value lies.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Nick. I just want to check with all of you. I hope you all are able to hear us well, see us well. In case you have any challenges, please do let us know in the chat box. We did see a comment about the video. We're trying to fix that. Thank you very much for letting us know. Any questions, any inputs, feel free to type in and we'll take them as and when possible. I just want to quickly flow through the agenda over the next few minutes so that all of you are aware of what's coming up next. Up next, we have a panel discussion on the topic of leading agile teams by Mark, Scott, and Dr. Srini. After which we also have a very interesting conversation with Amol and Falguni on some of the questions which we received over the last couple of days. In the last 15-20 minutes, you all will have an opportunity to network with the panelists and the other attendees, and you also have a Q&A session. So I hope you all stay back till the end of this event to be able to interact with all of us better. So yes, next up, we have this very interesting discussion on the topic of leading agile teams by Mark Lyons, Scott Ambler, and Dr. Srinivasan. I'm going to quickly introduce them to all of you in the best way possible and hand over the panel to them for the interesting conversation. So about Mark Lyons, Mark is the Vice President, Disciplined Agile at the Project Management Institute. He is the co-creator of the Disciplined Agile Toolkit, along with Scott Ambler, and also a co-author of several books on Disciplined Agile. Mark has over 25 years of experience helping organizations around the world to be successful with project delivery using agile, lean, traditional, and hybrid approaches. Mark is a frequent keynote speaker at industry conferences across the world. Mark lives in Calgary, Alberta, in the foothills of the Canadian Rockies. Before I introduce Scott and Srini, Mark, if you could just say a quick hello, that would be great.
Well, thank you very much, Shruti. A wonderful introduction. I'm really looking forward to sharing with you our exciting certifications and telling you about the value of DA.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mark. Introducing Scott Ambler. Scott is the Vice President, Chief Scientist of Disciplined Agile at Project Management Institute. Scott leads the evolution of the Disciplined Agile Toolkit and is an international keynote speaker as well. Scott is the co-creator of the Disciplined Agile Toolkit, as well as the Agile Modeling and Agile Data Methodologies. He is the co-author of several books, including Choose Your, wow, I hope I'm pronouncing it right, An Executive's Guide to the Disciplined Agile Framework, Refactoring Databases, Agile Modeling, and the Object Primer 3rd edition. Scott blogs regularly at projectmanagement.com, and he can be contacted via pmi.org. Scott, I had to include that in your introduction. So over to you to say a quick hello.
Hi, yes, thank you for inviting me here today, and I appreciate everybody taking time out of their busy days to see to see what we have to say, and looking forward to the panel discussion.
Perfect, thank you, Scott. Introducing Dr. Srini Srinivasan. Dr. Srini has over 30 years of global professional experience as a CEO, senior management consultant, and an entrepreneur in India, US, and the Asia. He's also been the Indian CEO and senior US partner of 3 global management consultancies, where he was a trusted advisor to CXOs across different multiple industry sectors. He's had his hand in 5 successful startups in areas as diverse as biomedical technology, consulting services, outsourcing, and knowledge management. He's managed complex multi-geography, multi-view enterprise transformation projects as well. Dr. Srini, over to you for a quick hello. And also with this, we begin the panel discussion on the very interesting topic of leading agile teams.
Thank you, Shruti. I think the audience wants to hear from Scott and Mark, not from me, but thank you for that introduction. I think along with the audience, I'm excited to have the opportunity to interact with Scott and Mark and to hear about the value of Disciplined Agile straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak. So let me start with Scott. Scott, what in your mind are some of the biggest challenges organizations face as they try to migrate to an agile way of working?
Yeah, that's a great question, and the answer is it's a big answer. Organizations face a lot of complexities. Every organization is unique. One size does not fit all. We heard that from one lady in one of the videos, and it's true. There are no easy answers. There's no easy paths to becoming more agile other than hard work and investing in your people and being prepared to choose your own way of working and to learn how to improve. And I think that can be frustrating for a lot of organizations. They really are looking for, many organizations look for easy answers, and there aren't one. I'm sure many of you have heard of other organizations or maybe in an organization where you're on your 6th or 7th agile transformation now. And it's because there aren't easy answers. It takes time, it takes investment, and we really need to do the hard work of getting better.
So if there are no easy answers and if one size does not fit all, what are some of the unique aspects of Disciplined Agile which organizations can use to overcome these challenges?
Yeah, so our approach in Disciplined Agile is to look at the whole picture, to be what we call enterprise aware, and to observe, to accept what's really going on. And that's the basis of what we've done in DA. So instead of giving a simplistic answer, we instead believe, I believe at least, that we give you an honest answer, and we say, this is complex. We are dealing with hard problems, and as a result, we need to have choices. So instead of telling you what to do, we instead tell you what to think about, and then we give you options, and we say, if you have this sort of an issue, here are several ways you can solve that. Here are the trade-offs of all of those options. So you choose the right way of working for you. Because I don't know what situation you're in, and even if I did, it wouldn't matter because your situation is changing anyways. So the new normal is to be constantly changing. And so as a result, you need to learn how to choose your own way of working. You need to learn how to get better at getting better. And that is what DA is all about. We teach you the fundamental skills to become a learning organization, to be continually improving and continually getting better through smart experimentation and through intelligent choices. So we actually look at the long term. So your agile transformations aren't just about adopting a framework. That might be a good starting point for you, and it often is, but it's not your ending point. And that, I think, is where the frameworks, often fall down, is that they're focused on helping you to adopt their framework. And fair enough, but that really isn't that's not your end goal. Your end goal is to become a learning organization, to be able to be constantly getting better and reacting to the changes in the marketplace and overcoming the challenges that you face. And those are the skills that we teach in DA.
Scott, thank you for that. What I took away from this is there is an opportunity for us to provide some honest answers to complex problems. And there's an opportunity to do that by looking at several different ways to solve the problem, looking at options, and then trying to decide which options fit the purpose at hand. And I particularly liked what you said about the spirit of continuous improvement and smart experimentation. So I think I will definitely take that away with me. Let me turn my attention next to Mark. Mark, like me, there are a lot of professionals in the audience who've invested time and effort in achieving agile learning, certifications, content from various organizations. How do I and the other professionals in this audience stay relevant with the advances that are happening in the agile world today? And how do we use that to advance our careers?
That's a great question, Srini. When I look at the agile landscape, it's full of agile certifications, and I feel sorry for agile practitioners trying to keep up. Each of these certifications are usually based on one particular method or framework or set of techniques. And for us agile practitioners, it's like putting together a jigsaw puzzle. And to fill in the whole agile landscape, every certification is another piece in that puzzle, and they're changing all the time. And so it's very difficult to keep up. And I see on people's LinkedIn profiles, they have half a dozen or more certifications, very expensive. It's really hard to stay relevant and to keep up with it all. And that's kind of a shame, because what you see with these different certifications is you see they all have gaps. None of them talk about the entire picture. They all talk about a particular approach. And in many cases, they have conflicting advice. They have different types of terminology. It's really hard to keep on top of it and to sort it all out and then bring it to bear in real life to solve problems. This is where Disciplined Agile is different. And I want everybody on the call to understand that we're not another method. We're not another framework. And that's why we've been referring to it as a toolkit. At last count, it has over 1,600 practices, 1,600, right? That you can use to cherry pick, to choose your way of working, as Scott said, that makes sense for you, not the way you've been taught in a 2-day certification class around a particular method or framework. So what DA does is and certifications is they pull these practices together to teach you how to find the ones that can help supplement whatever approach you're currently using. And they're structured, while the names of the certs are structured around Scrum, it's really important to understand that while Scrum is a great start, there are many other different ways of working that you can either use to supplement Scrum, or perhaps use a completely different approach that doesn't use Scrum at all. But Scrum is the foundation, it's the core. But what makes us different is we actually encourage you to move to something else if that makes sense for you. For instance, we see a lot of Scrum teams move towards a more of a lean approach. And that's okay if that makes sense for you. So then the nice thing that to summarize the answer to the question is you can take 12 different certifications, which is very expensive, very time consuming, or you can go to DA, or I shouldn't say or, and you can go to DA and supplement whatever you're currently doing by upskilling your knowledge of all these practices to help you to get better. So what the key point to takeaway is that, if you go to a 2-day certification course, you're going to learn a set of techniques, certainly not 1,600 techniques. That becomes a foundation. And what the important takeaway about the DA toolkit is whatever method framework you're currently using, it helps you to get better. It doesn't just necessarily displace it, but there's no method, no framework that can't benefit from the comprehensive body of knowledge that is the DA toolkit.
That is amazing. So what I understood, Mark, is that we as professionals have an opportunity to actually span the entire Agile landscape through a combination of practices as part of the toolkit, and take part in what Scott called smart experimentation, by trying to figure out which aspects fit the problem at hand the best, so that you're not in a process prison, so to speak, and you have the opportunity to come out of that closed room and experiment to find a way to solve the problem at hand. And I like the way you called it supplements. For those of us who've experimented with supplements for healthcare, this sounds to me more like steroids, not supplements. So one other question, Mark, for you along those lines. I know that one size doesn't fit all, but what in your mind would be an ideal career path for an Agile practitioner, and where would Disciplined Agile fit in that path?
And that's also a very good question, Srini. We've done a lot of research. After Scott and I and the Disciplined Agile team joined PMI and became part of the PMI family, we took some time to step back and redesign the certifications to reflect a career journey. And there really is nothing out there like it in the market. We do run into many Scrum Masters that have been Scrum Masters for 10 years, and their career has not progressed. They're still making the same money or hourly rate than they were 10 years ago. And it's very hard for them to differentiate themselves. If they've been doing Scrum or other kinds of Agile for 10 years, they absolutely deserve better job opportunities, better compensation to reflect the investment they've made in their education and experience. But it's very difficult for them to separate themselves. And with the Disciplined Agile certification journey, there's always a place to go. There's a place to progress and to demonstrate to your employer or prospective employers that you really do understand those 1,600 practices, and that you are positioned, you're not stuck inside a particular box or method. You're positioned to truly customize ways of working for one team, sets of teams, indeed the entire organization. And one thing I want to point out that's not really well known yet or crystal clear when you look at the course descriptions, and we need to get better at that, is that we understand that coaching is a critical part of being a Scrum Master. So even in the DA Senior Scrum Master cert, team coaching is fundamentally taught within that cert. So you learn about coaching. And the other thing that's critical is that whenever you're working with a team or sets of teams or an organization, and you're trying to get better, we need to understand that this isn't just about executing solution delivery. It's also partly change management. And you have to change, how do you get to new ways of working? Well, you have to negotiate, you have to work with your team, and you have to work with other teams, and you have to work with finance and marketing and other areas to help them to be agile as well. And you know what? That's a change management exercise. So you learn that in the certifications. We teach you how to help finance, marketing, other areas to become agile themselves, because often those areas are sources of, they're actually impediments to your agility, and they aren't, you can be as agile as you like, but if finance or PMOs are holding you back, you're not going to get the results that you want. So really important to understand, these are very robust certifications. And I remember working with a firm in New York that was building software for Wall Street. And the senior vice president of engineering told me, he said, you know, Mark, we have dozens of teams in our organization. And I've noticed that teams that are DA certified are more effective than ones that are not. And another company called Flexera, around the world, every time they start up new teams, the first thing they do is train everybody, all the practitioners, not just developers, but BAs, testers, project managers, scrum masters on the DA toolkit, because he knows that if everybody has knowledge of what their options are. As an example, we have 53 different ways of modeling requirements, some diagrammatic, pictorial, some textual. And a typical agile team only learns about one technique, user stories. There's so much more that you can use to be more effective. So to sort of summarize, we provide a career-long journey through our certifications that you don't see elsewhere. And keep in mind too, is that we're agnostic. We're not, and this is a beautiful thing about being part of PMI, a not-for-profit worldwide organization, is we're not married to one approach. We help you get better no matter what you're doing. So there's a journey there, and I would encourage you to jump into the journey and learn about the Senior Scrum Master, the Disciplined Agile Coach, and improving value streams. And value streams is a very hot topic these days, that with our DA Value Stream Consultant certification, you can learn how to streamline the end-to-end delivery of value to your customers. And we're hearing from executives that they desperately want to learn how to improve, as an example, their SAFe implementations. You can do that with the DA toolkit. We see lots of organizations using SAFe. Some are doing it very well, but almost every organization that is using SAFe struggles in some teams, and they're not really sure how to fix it. They're doing everything that they were told to do in their certification course from SAFe, but they still got some clogged up pipes. We teach you how to unclog those pipes so that you can really get the value from your investment in using SAFe, if that's what your approach is. Okay, now I'll finish with one last comment. When we redesigned the certification program, we did a lot of market research, and we found that the market is looking for senior Scrum Masters. We found that, for instance, a data point, 11,000 job openings on LinkedIn for senior Scrum Masters. So very clearly, employers are looking to differentiate Scrum Masters from those that have more experience in training. So keep that in mind, that I think that having a senior Scrum Master cert is really, it's going to provide you better job opportunities, career growth, and better compensation, frankly. Not to mention the fact that you'll be better equipped to deal with non-trivial situations. And what Scott talks about is, the organizations are complex adaptive systems. You learn in the senior Scrum Master how to work with many teams, complex situations, non-trivial situations, to increase your chances of success.
That's a wow for me.
Choose your wow. Yeah.
That's a wow.
Choose your way of working.
Mark, what I got out of this is some key things that I'm taking away. One is, it's a journey, and it's an opportunity to grow. There's a lot more headroom that the DA portfolio is providing for growth, particularly around team coaching, and also in being able to combine solution delivery with change management, which I think most people in the audience would appreciate is really crucial, because in today's project, if you will, you have a project team, but you have lots of stakeholders, and many of whom you've identified: finance, HR, procurement, apart from your customer. And how to bring them all into the tent, and how to take them in the journey with you is crucial. And the last thing you talked about, which I think is also very important, in my mind, is value streams. Because at the end of the day, agility today, from a business perspective, is about delivering value. And how do you provide the skills and the training for agile professionals to be able to actually deliver on those value streams. So I think this is tremendous. It's robust. It's quite a journey. So thank you, Scott and Mark, for taking the time to talk with us. But most importantly, thank you for putting your cards on the table. Really appreciate this. So over to you, Shruti.
Thank you very much, Dr. Srini, for moderating this interesting discussion. Thank you very much, Scott and Mark, for such insightful inputs. I want to acknowledge questions from Sandeep and Chandni. Sandeep, Chandni, I've made a note of your questions. We will take your questions in the last 10-15 minutes that we've allotted. Yeah. Thank you all for typing in your questions. Continue to type in. Next up is another interesting video of another student experience. Nick, can you please play the video?
Sure, just give me a moment.
DSSM as a course and certification, in my opinion, anyone who is delivering a solution, take this course and take the certification also. Project managers or delivery managers like me who wants to improve their delivery process should go for the certification. Scrum masters who wants to take up a more responsible leadership role, they have to go for the certification. Organizations which are running now on hybrid approach and they want move to agile methodologies, this is the certification that they have to take. And above all, in simple words, any organization which wants to bring value to their customers, this is a must-have certification.
Thank you, Nick. So up next, we have an interesting Q&A format conversation with Amol Pradhan and Falguni Rolekar. I'll quickly introduce both of them. And we also have a set of 5 questions which we've collected over the last few days, which we will discuss further on. A quick introduction about Amol Pradhan. Amol is a Chief Transformation Officer, Enterprise Agility at IBM. As an enterprise agility transformation leader for lean, agile, and DevOps culture change across various domains, including aerospace, automobile manufacturing, retail, mining, oil and gas, community, investment banks, and entertainment. Amol brings with him rich experience across development, testing, configuration management, and infrastructure management across over 6 geographies. Amol, do you want to quickly say a hello, and then I'll introduce Falguni Rolekar as well.
Thank you, Shruti. Thanks for the for both, I think, introductions, and great to be here. And thanks everyone for taking out time.
Welcome, Amol. Thank you very much for being here. Falguni Rolekar is an enterprise agile transformation leader at IBM. She brings with her over 20 years of IT service delivery expertise, managing complex application portfolios. She's coached and mentored over 100 people in agile software development and Scrum, and she's also a speaker at various global and sector level forums on enterprise agile transformation for various IBM customers across the globe. Falguni, welcome to this event. Do you want to say a quick hello?
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much, Shruti. And it's a pleasure to be here with Mark and Scott. So I'm sure audience is going to really love this discussion.
Thank you, Falguni. So what we'll do now is we have 5 questions that we've received from our attendees. So I will just read out the questions addressing to each of you, Amol and Falguni, and we'll take the questions one by one. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
Yep.
Perfect. So the first question is for Amol. Amol, the question is this is a question which we received, so I'm reading it as it is. How do we become a great Scrum Master and install good Agile? Certifications are not enough. I think you can just answer in your way. How do we become a great Scrum Master and install good Agile?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Shruti. I would like to just mention one thing before I talk about the answer about a good Scrum Master. I had pleasure to work with Mark and Scott on Disciplined Agile since 2013. Today has been taken over in PMI and done Master Disciplined Agile class as well as the Green Belt. And in my previous role to IBM, where I was leading the Barclays Bank's Asia Pacific group-wide transformation, we had leveraged Disciplined Agile toolkit extensively across 17 countries and close to 70,000 people's transformation. Yeah. So what we are doing now, when I'm based out of Singapore and leading our IBM's global enterprise competency, we are helping our clients on the latest and greatest technology like hybrid cloud and AI transformations, where infusing enterprise agility is critical to accelerate the value delivery. And what we have observed, like any roles when we deployed the Agile team, coming to the question, Shruti, which you got on becoming the Scrum Master, but it is, I would say, it's not only just Scrum Master is critical to have the skills, but it's a whole team. Otherwise, transformation is going to fail sooner or later. Right? So it's when we say all roles is developer, tester, BA, architect, who is there on the team, they must have these T-shaped skills to have the strong foundation. And I'm pretty much confident here to say that my previous experience on the Disciplined Agile toolkit has significantly elevated the capability of the Scrum Masters and practitioners. When I say practitioners, developer, testers, BA, all the roles, because which is extremely critical to be successful in any transformation. And specifically, the uniqueness, there are multiple frameworks which Mark and Scott has touched upon. The uniqueness, I would say, in the Disciplined Agile toolkit is the architecture owner role, which so this person owns the architecture decisions, because you will find when Scrum Masters goes and try to coach the team, you will find significant confusion. Who is going to do that? When to do that? Is it evolving? All right. So Scrum Master will learn a lot more things from, especially the senior Scrum Master have gone through the toolkits. So who facilitates the creation and evaluation of the overall solution designing. So there are multiple tips and tools there for architect to take the decisions, and it's for whole team, right? And another confusion around becoming the great Scrum Masters. People I have seen so I worked into the banking domain for 14 over years and now into the consulting domain. People go for certificate without any experience. And on the fourth day, it is changed profile to the Scrum Master. And when you attempt the interviews, or you may clear the interviews, but when you actually start working on the transformation, it could be quite painful journey. Yeah. And that's where you need to have the practical experience, and you need to have the solid toolkit, how you can actually help leadership, right? To think about new ways of working and mindset. You need to help, especially the business analyst. That's where your story could start and fail. So there are so many ways in there. I don't know the count, but at least there are 40 plus ways Scott or Mark can add there to how you actually do the user stories, right, more effectively in the Disciplined Agile toolkit. Yeah. So I think that's a couple of pointers I can think of right now. Falguni, anything you want to add?
I think Amol, you have covered everything, but the overall, or I would say in general, if you want to say the just one skill or from the one framework is not going to help you to survive in today's market. So what we need is some kind of a universal toolkit, and that is the one which is given by Scott and Mark, and that is nothing but the toolkit, right? So that's it. If you want to become a great Scrum Master, go for it.
Thank you, Amol and Falguni. So I have a follow-up, Amol, again, this is to you. It's more of a statement. I think you can just share your thoughts about this statement. So generally, when organizations go for agile transformation, leaders feel that they lose control and the value is lesser, right? It's more of a statement that we received. What are your thoughts about this?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the typical thing, and that's where there's a chaos. And what we say is why the culture change is important. Agile is less about practices, but is more about the culture change. And if you look at the transformation at the top, if the leadership is not just given the buy-in or support, but is a constant commitment, is quite critical. And that's where the transformation's destiny is decided, whether it will fail or it will succeed. And when somebody at the top decides at CXO level, we have always seen, hey, let's go for transformation because either next neighbor is doing that or there is less clarity on why they're doing it, right? And that's what trickles down to the layer down, CXO -1, 2, and middle level management. And then there is a lot of fear that, hey, am I going to lose my job? Because team is now going to be self-empowered. So what I'm going to do, are they going to take their decision themselves? How much work I am going to do? What is the work I'm going to deliver? When I'm going to deliver? And am I going to lose the control? And I don't want to be servant lead, right? Especially not the servant, just leader is good, command and control. So I would prefer to continue in the same way, right? So the key thing over there is how we make team comfortable and including the immediate leadership who are going to take that servant leader role and make sure they are empowering the team, and for them especially, right, the fear factor for the leadership, that they have a lot to do during this change because team will be confused. They are going to have their own different thought, and we have seen so much attrition, change, because the clarity is not there. So rather than going on to the tactical things or practices related thing, they have a lot to do. They can spend a lot more time with the team instead of controlling them, how they can empower, and they will have a lot more bandwidth to do the strategic work and make sure there is a continuous and constant communication is there on why the change is needed, why it is, what the benefit they're going to bring to the teams, right? And in this, basically in the chaos, they have a lot of responsibility to create the bonding between the teams, right? So instead of leader instructing them how the leader can help to build the trust within the team, it's a very easy statement, but if the team is really new, when the new ways of working is happening, there will be definitely new hiring is coming, upskilling is going on. So yeah, there are a lot of even fear factor things goes within the minds of the team. So yeah, leader has a lot of role. I mean, there is no reason for them to just fear about their losing the control. But that's the first thing it comes to the mind. So that's is a long, I think, answer to that small comments. Right. I hope that helps.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Amol. Falguni, anything you'd like to add?
No, I think that was a long answer, but yeah, it really gives a right message. And I am sure if participants are listening to this, they are really going to get a lot of benefit that how we need to change ourselves, the way of working and thinking especially. So definitely.
Perfect. Thank you. Falguni, the next question is for you. So one of the most common feels from an agile team member is that why do I need to build other skills when I have an in-depth knowledge in one specific area, right? So what are your thoughts about this, and what would you say about it?
Oh, that's great, Shruti. Great question, because it's not new. We regularly hear this from most of the team member whenever the organization is going for the agile transformation. So we need to first understand that if team is going for agile transformation, that means we are going to work in a small team, and we are going to do iterative delivery. When we talk about the iterative delivery, that means whatever we are going to deliver in the iteration has to be production ready at the end of the iteration. So how do we build that kind of a production ready deliverable? And that requires a lot of skills. At the same time, we have to ensure that the team has a great collaboration within the team so that they are able to generate that kind of a deliverable. So if you have the mindset of a single, I would say I-shaped, right? In our terminology, we say I-shaped skill. That means I feel that I have a great skill in my one area and I am able to do extremely well. That is not going to help them to survive in today's market, because if everyone has their unique skills, then they are not able to generate the deliverables within that short span of time, which is an iteration. At the end of the iteration, they will not have that deliverable. I'll give you a great example from one of my client when I was supporting the healthcare client. Now, with that client, the team members were working with that organization for more than 20 years, 25 years. So they know the system so well in and out that if you ask a question in the middle of the night, they will be able to provide the solution for that. So that kind of expertise they had. And then suddenly when the leadership team came up and says that, no, now we would like to go for an agile transformation in order to remain the competitive. They were just thinking that by going into agile transformation, why should I learn the new skill? Like, why do I have to build when I am master in my area? Why do I have to go? And that became a greatest, I would say, the roadblock for our transformation journey. Even though I was part of that transformation journey, I have practically experienced that first 4 sprint, team was not able to deliver a right deliverable. I mean, when I say right deliverable means it was not production ready. The reason was we had an architect in the team and they were thinking my role is to just design the system, right? And at the same time, we had few team members from the testing team, and they were so, I would say they were so confident about the skill that no, I am great and we are so expert in the testing, we don't have to pay any attention to any other work. And that did not help the entire team in delivering that right deliverable, right? So we all have to change our thinking. And we have to see that if we are going for agile way of working, we have to change from I shape to T shape, right? T shape means like we have a one area expertise, but at the same time, we do have to build our skill in the other area. Otherwise, we are not going to help our team in delivering the right results.
Wow, that's quite a response, Falguni. Thank you so much. Amol, anything you'd like to add to that?
Falguni smashed it. That's all good. Thank you, Shruti.
Perfect, great. So the next question, Amol, I come back to you with this question. People have the fear of losing their job, particularly if they go for a new style of working, right? I mean, your thoughts about that, please.
I think it again goes back to the previous one, I think, Shruti. I think Scott has mentioned something on the chat as well. But it's more about, as I mentioned, that there is a lot of fear it creates at the different levels. So the most important thing the leadership needs to do there is give the clarity and purpose. Because that's where it is going to make a significant difference in the transformation. And usually people I would say specifically am I going to, do I really need to do first of all, especially the people who have been there for long timers, 15, 20 years, who knows the system in and out. Those are actually critical ones for transformation to be successful. And these people unfortunately do not want to change because they have been doing it for a long time. Then why to change, right? So, and that's where to retaining these people and giving them the comfort is extremely critical. Because the system knowledge, like especially in the banking system, and when I was working for one of the Australia large banking clients, they still have the mainframes, right? And the developer is 30 years experienced developer. He just loves coding, and you cannot lose such developer because he can be literally multi-skill, not the T-shaped skills. He knows BA skills, testing skills, developer skills, and the most important part, nobody can replace his mainframe coding and the system and domain knowledge, right? So for this, these are the key people who have the system knowledge, and for that, I would say the clarity on the purpose is extremely critical, so that people knows where we are going and why we are going, and in any transformation, what's in it for them, right? So is it a brighter future, or is it just the speed without knowing why we are accelerating, right? So all those things we have seen matters quite a lot. So the team can be engaged much better if we have that clarity on the purpose. I will just repeat this third time. Otherwise, people just start losing the enthusiasm, and they lose the excitement about the transformation, right? So that's where it's quite critical, and they need a lot of help, and that's where I would say, again, going back to the toolkit, right? Because people don't know, like BA have seen, how should I do actually some of the user story writing or architecture, architect, how do I make the decisions? So having the reference, practical references helps significantly. So there is a less fear in how to do and what to do. Falguni, anything you would like to add before Shruti asks you the same thing?
No, I would just say that here Scrum Master plays very critical role. So if we want to retain the talent in the team, if we want to really get the maximum out of our team member, then the Scrum Master is the one who plays that critical role in changing their mindset and motivating and empowering their team so that they are able to work in a right path.
Perfect. Thank you, Amol and Falguni. Last question from the list we've received. This is for you, Falguni. So most of the time, teams feel that Agile is applicable to software development teams only. What is your view on this?
Oh, I think this question I am answering on a regular basis, on a weekly basis, I would say, because the current client whom I'm supporting, there I am delivering the incubation on a weekly basis, and team has the same question on a regular basis. Each and every participant asks me this question. The reason
so we did a good job of shortlisting the questions.
Definitely, and I would love to talk on this one, because this is really a critical thinking, because people have that myth. Because when they hear the Agile values and principle, they feel that we have some kind of a software development reference, and that's the reason they feel that, yeah, this is only for the software development, and this cannot be applied in any other sector, domain, or any other type of a project. Coming to my client, where I'm saying that every day I face this question, the reason is this client unit, which we are trying to do the entire Agile and DevOps transformation, which I'm leading, it is not from a software development background at all. They are from the infrastructure support operation and a help desk type of role they play, where they are on a daily basis, they have a ticketing system where they get a customer call and they just receive that call and they solve the issues. Like, for example, whether they have a network issue, whether they have a VDI issue, and so on. So they feel that when we have this kind of an environment, and the leadership is asking for going into the agile way of working. How will be able to do the agile? So they are completely puzzled. The reason is because they do not have that clear understanding what exactly agile means. The agile is not, I would say it is a methodology or a framework. It is a mindset and a cultural change, right? So when we say that it is a cultural change, that means we need to change our way of working. If we are looking for way of working change, then it should be applied to anywhere, right? Whether it is a different sector, domain, or a different type of a project. So it can be applied anywhere. In fact, I would say that you can apply agile to your personal life as well. So there is no restriction in application of agile. And here, if you want to apply agile effectively, because say we are saying that it is not a software development, then the DA toolkit plays a very critical role, because it gives a complete, I would say, the freedom based on your project context. You can create your way of working. And that's I would say it's an amazing toolkit, which really gives a lot of help to the team who is not from the software development background, because it's a universal toolkit where it can apply in any sector, any domain, or any type of a project. So it's a wonderful toolkit to use.
Thank you very much, Falguni. Amol, I'm going to ask you if you have anything to add.
I just want to add one thing on top of what Falguni said, that we have 100 over roles open, and we will be giving preference and to Disciplined Agile Senior Scrum Master certified people, because as Falguni mentioned, those comes with the practical toolkit experience. Okay. So yeah, we are actively hiring. Feel free to look for the LinkedIn and feel free to apply.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shruti. I need to take a leave. Yeah. So
Amol,
thank you
so much
very
for
much.
joining in, despite your busy schedule. Thank you for joining in.
Thank you very much. Talked. Bye-bye.
Yeah, great. So we still have the other panelists with us, attendees. I did see a message from Juan that we did not take up the questions. Juan, as I mentioned, we have the last 15 minutes scheduled for Q&A. I've definitely made a note of all the questions that are here, and we will take them up starting now. So panelists, may I request a few more minutes, maybe about 10, 15 minutes from you all to take a few questions?
Sure, I'd love to.
Okay, great. So I'm going to begin with some of the questions which we received. So Juan has actually a series of questions. The first one being, what makes DA better than traditional Agile?
Scott, I'll let you take that one.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks. So I think you've heard it several times. It's about freedom of choice. It's also about the bigger scope. So where the methods and the frameworks focus on a specific thing, and they often address it very well, there's gaping holes in all of these methods and frameworks. We chose a different path. We decided to address what you actually face. And yeah, there's a lot to it as a result. What we do as professionals is complicated, and that's okay. So we address the questions that sometimes are not all that attractive to some of the frameworks. Like, how do you govern agile teams? Where does architecture fit in? Where does testing fit in? What do you do when it's not a perfectly agile situation? What do you do when the finance team might not want to do time materials, whatever approach to funding that you want? How do you still interact and be successful in those situations? So we take on the harder problems that you actually face, and we give you options to address them.
Yeah, Scott, and if I could add, I love the way you brought up governing teams. Governance is a bad word in Agile, but governance does not need to be, if people think about documents and reviews and meetings and sign-offs and stage gates, you know what, governance doesn't have to be like that. If you have a daily stand-up, a daily scrum, that's actually governance. So you have governance, but what we talk about is an enterprise view to lean governance. So how can we stay on top of the status of the projects and mitigation of risks in a very lightweight way. And do you know what? Risk management is baked into the DA toolkit. We teach you how to apply risk management in an agile way. You do not learn that in a normal agile course. Where risk management doesn't go away whether you're using agile approaches or traditional approaches. So that's part of the discipline. People ask me, why disciplined agile, Mark? That's just one part of the discipline in the toolkit. Is we teach you some of the things that don't go away, that you don't typically learn about in a basic agile certification. It's a very robust toolkit. But I will say one thing. One thing more is because there's an interesting question. Why is it better than traditional agile? It's not better. It's more robust, and it makes traditional agile better. There is nothing inconsistent between DA and the Agile Manifesto. By the way, speaking of gaps, there are gaps in the principles of the Agile Manifesto. And if you learn about DA, we frame it as what we call the DA mindset. Principles, promises, guidelines. For instance, we talk about the value of diversity and improving the system rather than trying to change individuals. That was never talked about 20 years ago when the Agile Manifesto was written. So we like to think that we have a more disciplined, robust, agnostic, pragmatic approach to Agile and Lean.
Perfect. Thank you. John, Joe, would you like to add to this question, or would you like for me to move on to the next question?
I think Mark.
Yeah, go ahead, John.
Yeah, I think Mark really covered it. Thanks.
Agreed.
Perfect. So Joan has 3 more questions as follow-up. So I'm going to read all of them together, so you can choose to answer them together. So he asks about which is that one specific methodology which differentiates DA from a traditional agile, and what are the tools in the market that are aligned with disciplined agile, and how can we apply disciplined agile to an SEO director or an SEO manager position? Please let me know if I should repeat the 3 questions that I did at once.
Let me take a shot at a couple of them. So first, the tool questions. So yeah, as Mark said, in DA we support 1,600 practices like test-driven development. So if there's a test-driven development tool out there, we know there's many, well, then that's under the scope of DA, I would argue. Just like there's all the agile project management tools and all the whiteboards and modeling tools and other good things. So the tooling issue is a bit of a misnomer, I would think. It's not really. Yes, there's many tools. Yeah, because when you got hundreds of practices, they're supported by thousands of tools. So tell me one specific methodology where DA differs from traditional agile. That's a great question. So one of the things that's arguably strange about DA is that it really is a hybrid, and we've adopted techniques from many agile methods, all the ones that you've heard about, Scrum and Kanban and SAFe and others, but also lean, lean techniques in Kanban and lean thinking and flow and good stuff like that, but also traditional techniques. So because many of the traditional techniques do make sense in certain situations, as we know. So we don't have the prejudices that others may have in the agile community against some of the more traditional strategies, and that's okay. So I think, and this is like true traditional serial techniques, not just like old traditional techniques like agile techniques like Scrum, but traditional techniques like a Gantt chart or many of the governance strategies and so on. They make sense in many situations, including ideas from the rational unified process. People used to like to beat up RUP, but the reality is there's phenomenally good ideas in that method, and some not so good ones as well, but certainly some very good ones there that we could choose to respect and adopt. So it's that breadth of choice, and it's the It's being truly agnostic. It's not just about being agnostic agile, it's about being agnostic. And that, I think, is a very different proposition. And as far as applying DA to being a SEO director or manager or whatever else there, it's an issue of we teach you to choose your wow. It's not we teach you to choose your way of working as a software developer or as a enterprise architect. It's as a person. So what what I would say is the issue is really one of what challenges do you currently face in that role? And then use the toolkit to identify potential techniques to address those situations.
Yeah, if I could build on that, Scott.
I stole the race.
So, there's definitely a perception around DA that it's a method or a framework, and it is not. We're absolutely not asking you to stop doing X and do DA instead. It's X and DA. I don't care if as I said, the scrums, the certs are named after Scrum, but it's far more than Scrum. It's Scrum and Lean and some traditional hybrid approaches, and learning, not memorizing, but learning how to reference the toolkit to find the tools that can help you be more effective. I'll give you an example, personas. Most people know what personas are, but not all agile teams. And when they learn what's in the toolkit, they discover these beautiful techniques like personas that you did not learn in your CSM course. So it's like a foundation, a base level of knowledge that you can then use to, as our book says, choose your ways of working. So it's it's not DA or something else. It's DA and anything, frankly. And Scott makes a really good point about a lot of the agile courses teach you one way of working. And if you don't do, user stories, then you're not doing agile. Well, that's just ridiculous. To be frank, there are many other techniques that can be used either to supplement user stories or instead of user stories, believe it or not. But you will not learn that, in a typical agile course. And the other thing that's built into the toolkit, if I encourage you to take a look at it, is it's almost like a little capability maturity model. We can say that, as Scott said, it's full of agile techniques, but some of them are not particularly agile. So you might look at something and say, I'm doing a traditional software requirement specification as an example. Well, clearly that's not very agile. And we will actually show you that if you look at the other options in the list, the higher up they are in the list, the more agile they are. So you can quickly sort of self-assess what your team is doing to say, well, no wonder we're struggling. We're doing these things that really don't make sense for us, and they're not particularly agile. So, hey, next sprint, why don't we try this instead? And little by little, the team will choose their way of working. They'll improve, they'll retrospect, and that's their journey to high performance. And we call this not just continuous improvement, we call it guided continuous improvement. See, this is one of the problems that we have in our industry. We've been taught that it's okay to fail. And we want to fail fast, because the sooner we fail, the sooner we learn, the sooner we get better. That's an admirable concept. But you know what? I know all the teams are unique and the people are unique and the organizations are unique. But many of the things that you face every day have been done before, right? And other teams have learned what works better in different situations. And so rather than failing fast over and over again and taking 6 months, a year for you to really reach peak performance, you can reference proven techniques that have worked in similar contexts so that you fail less and you succeed early. This is the beautiful thing about the guidance that you'll find inside the toolkit. It's like, I like to joke, it's like a coach in a box. Like, it's that handy reference that you can carry around and use to solve real problems that you face every day. And one more thing, there's nothing else out there like it. People say, what does DA compete with? Nobody else has read the 100 books like Scott and I have. Yes, we're process nerds, and harvested the techniques into one comprehensive reference. So it really saves you a lot of time when you can find it all together in one place.
Yeah. Hey, I want to add something to what Mark just said, if you give me a minute or two. What you just said is really important. 10 years plus, 100 books and then continued more books, going forward in terms of our research, bringing that into what I'm just going to distill into a decision-making process, right? I've been in executive roles for 20 years. Most important thing you have to do in these roles is make decisions. And what I've learned, sometimes very painfully, is on the front end of decision-making, it's how much time you have to make the decision. You either make it too fast or you take too long, right? That's the push-pull. And on the back end of the decision is how well do you optimize whatever the decision that was made? Sometimes decisions are just wrong, but most times they're right or they're about right. So to me, what the DA approach brings is helping on that front end to really take that 10 years plus, 100 books, all that research, condense it into the hands of an executive, a manager, and say, hey, this is going to help you make the good decision up front and which direction to go. And then the actual methods that you choose, by virtue of the fact that they're optimal for whatever you're trying to solve for, will then optimize the decision on the back end and get you the outcomes that you want. I think that's super valuable from an executive perspective, because so many mistakes are made in decision-making processes, and this can really just leapfrog you into good decision in the right time frame and an optimization of what those outcomes are.
Thank you, Joe, Scott, and Mark. John, were you going to add something?
Yeah, I just wanted some feedback on my line. It sounds good. Well, the other part of the question is, how do you use it for SEO? That's a great question. That comes into other areas of the business, but in SEO specifically, it lines up extremely well. There's actually three main roles in that whole digital marketing space. And if you look, and we can take this offline if they want to contact me, but how you would map those directly to DA. But it really comes, I want to amplify something that Amal said, which is, it's about maintaining that agile mindset, right? And so that agile mindset is what large part of what we're doing within DA is allowing you to maintain an agile mindset, choose a proper practice for your context, but continue to keep that going. But in terms of, and that leans into every other line of business, and especially SEO. So certainly happy to have that conversation, show how those connections happen. Thanks.
Thank you, John. So we have one question from Chandni, which is also similar to another question. So I'm combining both of these. How is PMI ACP different from PMI DA SSM? And what are the prerequisites, or what is the pathway to do DA SSM?
Okay, I guess I'll take the first crack at that. So there aren't many very rigorous, challenging, worthwhile Agile certifications out there, to be honest with you. Many of them are quite trivial. Now, not all. Some are pretty decent. The ACP is one of the best. It's a very, very good certification. Really hasn't gotten the attention it deserves over the years, to be honest with you. It does require pretty comprehensive understanding of Agile before you can get that certification. So if you've got it, you should be proud of it. You worked hard for it. The test, by the way, the certification process at PMI is extremely rigorous. We have people who live and breathe certification. That's all they do. That's their job. As a result, it shows in the quality of the work done by people who have the credentials, including the ACP. Now, having said that, the ACP is basically says, go out and get this education from a provider, learn the basics, come back and be prepared to write a test and have 8 months worth of experience. The DA journey is something a little bit different. We've taken the approach that we'll provide sort of standardized content so that we avoid overlap and gaps and conflicting messaging. So it's a career path. So that's what you see in the new DA journey and the ACP plugs right into it. Okay, so I would say to you, what you don't learn in ACP is the DA toolkit. You don't learn about the 1600 practices. As an example, 93 different techniques for automated and manual testing, 53 techniques for doing requirements modeling, diagrammatic and textual. So the ACP doesn't require you to, and maybe it will in the future, to understand what's in that toolkit. So that's a bit different. The ACP plugs into the journey. So if you have the ACP, take the Senior Scrum Master. That would be a next logical step, because now you're going to learn, you're going to take your knowledge to the next level, where ACP requires 8 months of experience. The Senior Scrum Master requires 2 years, plus an understanding of what's in the DA toolkit. So this is a really important point. If I think there's a question of here, what's the prerequisite and how do I get into the DA Senior Scrum Master? That we are inclusive, we are agnostic, and we embrace any other method that you're currently using. So if you're using SAFe, you're using Scrum, you're using Lean, Hybrid, then you've got 2 years of experience, you can go directly to the Senior Scrum Master. Now, if you KnowledgeHut will provide you with the DA Scrum Master materials to help you prepare for the Senior Scrum Master if you want to take it. It's part of that package. So yeah, absolutely take the DA Scrum Master before the Senior Scrum Master. But if you're an experienced Agilist, you can go directly to the Senior Scrum Master. So, or ACP. Anything you want to add, John, Scott, Joe?
No, that was great. I just wanted to add, everybody probably saw I added a link in the chat for an overview table, but Mark just said it phenomenally well.
Yeah, I agree. Well done, Mark.
I've got, well, it's well done, because I get that question. Like Goni said, every week, I get this question every week.
Perfect. Thank you all. In the interest of time, I think we should probably stop with this question, unless if you want to add anything more that people have not asked for. But I want to say that I see a lot of questions about the DASSM course and how this can help individuals. So I want to say that KnowledgeHut, along with the PMI team, we're all here to help all the Disciplined Agile aspirants. So I'm actually sharing the link as I speak. Do check out this link and reach out to us for any questions. I'm sure this small conversation may not answer all your questions, but we're just a call or a message away or an email away. So do write into us. I take the opportunity to thank you all, Mark, Scott, John, Joe, Falguni, and Amol, although Amol had to go midway. Thank you all for this wonderful event. I'm sure this was very, very informative. I just wish we had more time, but I'm sure this itself was quite a schedule for you all to have. So thank you so much for taking your time out despite your busy schedules. I'd like to invite my colleague, I'm sorry, I hope you all can hear me. I'd like to invite my colleague, Jasbir, to add this thank you note on behalf of all of us.
Thank you, Shruti. I hope you can hear me loud and clear.
Yes, we can.
It's been quite a power-packed evening, and thank you, PMI. I think this is going to be an exciting journey for all of us. We really want to thank you for coming together and giving a lot of information to the Disciplined Agile aspirants. This partnership is just beginning to get started, and I'm looking forward to this. We encourage all the Disciplined Agile participants, enthusiasts, to reach out to us. We are here to make sure we support you in your career. We'll support you, and we'll make sure that we get you the best in-class student experience. So we're looking forward to making that happen. And this is just the beginning of several events that we are going to be putting together with PMI. Stay tuned in for the next event coming up over the next 30 to 45 days, where you can recommend that to your peers, to your professional network. And we're really excited to be able to take you through this journey. Thank you again, everyone, for joining us this evening.
Thank you, Jasbir. As a final note, I'd like to thank, we're just a couple of us on screen, but there are a lot of people who put in their hands and time together to make this event successful. Sorry if I'm missing out on a few names, but I'd like to thank all our colleagues from KnowledgeHut, and Jacob, Suvarna, Priya, and the rest of the team. I wish I could take the whole long list of names. Thank you all for making this event happen. And we look forward to doing many more. And I see a lot of thank you messages. I'm passing on all the thank yous to you all panelists and the other teammates out here. Have a good day ahead and a good evening ahead.